All right, we're live. What's up, guys? It's Monday. Oh, no, not Monday. All right. It is Monday, and we are setting up the stream. Let's see. Here we are, and Monday card shop. Vintage breaks. I can't think of anything unusual that's going on right now. Alright, just a really generic daytime stream. Okay, let's log in here. Alright. What the? Get this out of here. Alright, there we go. This is the trophies music. I like the trophies music. I'm gonna go back to targets too, though. Break the targets. All right. Phew. What's up, guys? Happy Monday. It's a new week. Technically, isn't Sunday the new week? I count Sunday as the previous week. Alright, we're going to click on this. We got 30 viewers already. Nice. We have Chu, Jonathan Lewandowski, Ryan, Anthony Kalura, Cloudy, Juan Diaz, NHCC, Earl Johnson, Andy Dirksen, Brandon, Ryan, Dakota, and Roach's Pokemon. What's up, guys? How's it going? So last night, I kind of ended the stream a little bit early again so I could run off and make a second video on my other YouTube channel. That's what I've been busy with. So in 2 days, we've put out 2 videos over there. I'm going to try and keep that going a little bit, but I'm going to try and keep all the work over here up as well. Let's see. Deleting all of these. Click. Deleting the special announcement from Apple. Click. And it looks like everything's good. What up, all you blanking LeChonks? So, we have this ongoing Magnemite break. It's halfway done. Jump into there. This has 6 people in it. It is 4 spots away from being done. This just started. It needs 9 people. So those are the breaks. Pretty soon we'll wrap around and do a new vintage break, but this has got to finish. Just 1 round of the Phantom Forces. Magnemite A. Did pretty cool, right? All right. You can have me sign the case if you wish. Here's a Lechonky Snorlax. A Dusclops for $400. A Tower of Terror for $50, a Dusclops for $330, and a Clefable for $120. These are going away. We're going to bring out some new slabs. I can hear a cool guy driving around out there burning rubber around corners. What? What is he talking about? Ooh, here we have a PSA 9 Beedrill. Such a nice looking card. You know, sometimes I wonder if I could crack this and just send it to a different grading company, it would come back 10. It'd be worth so much more than $15 in that case. So there's Beedrill. Here's Ivysaur 9 Rainbow for $65. All right, so he's coming back up. This is round 2 for the Ivysaur. Hey, Ivysaur. Since he's going on clearance, he will come down to $60. How nice. Going away like Mister's cat. Here's. Oh, that's a really good one. We better double check the price on that. It's been a while since he's been priced. That's what I'm trying to say. He might have gone up. Luna Tone. Legend Maker. None for sale. There's none for sale, so I have nothing to compare this to. We're just going to redo the same price. This would make a great card to put on eBay. Okay. So he's $240. Clicking on this. Know anything about Star Wars Unlimited? Yeah, we had some Star Wars Unlimited for a while, but I have not restocked it. I didn't really like it. Brandon Boutillier wants a $20 payment toward a slab away. Jonathan says, I bought my first home. Nice, dude. That's awesome. Hey, Brandon. That's awesome, man. Okay, this comes down to $4.93. There you go, Brandon Boutillier. Let's turn this down a little bit. I have laughed every time you Gordy full art trainer from EV Heroes Involving Skies. That is my favorite full art trainer. Evade's here. He's been a member for 28 months. Wow, that's over 2 years. We close on the 13th of September. I'm so excited. Yay! Now you can start paying property taxes. All right! Property taxes is when people start to go, I care about taxes all of a sudden. All right, let's see. Just little things, you know. Government takes a little bit out of your paycheck. You're like, that's okay. Government starts to charge you for owning a car. You're like, that's a little bit annoying. Then you start paying for you start seeing the amount that you pay for property tax. You're like, this is getting to be a bit much, government. Why you take so much from me? All right, let's see. So next up, we've got Dark Magneton. PSA 9, only $170. Let's look into that. Let's see. Better than paying rent. That's not necessarily true. There's a mathematical formula where it's better to rent than it is to own. So it depends on the rent prices versus the mortgage prices. Mortgage prices are quite high right now. Okay, so this is up a little bit. Okay, $9.24. Wow, he's getting pricey. Look out. Okay, let's see. Refresh. It's better to be homeless. In theory, it could be. If you lived in a place that gave you a lot of money to be homeless. Anthony Kalura. Thought I'd try something new. 20 of the English Avatar. I always love the show. And some of the cards look pretty cool. Also, $100 slab away payment. You got it, Mr. Anthony Kalura. Scoopity boo 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 boo. 6065. There it is. Oh, hold on. Getting a text message there. Okay, Kyrus is on it. All right, we had a little Walmart order going on. Kyrus is picking it up there. So, Avatar. We got 5 of them here. This is a really nice set. I actually spent a lot of money restocking it because I really like the pulls out of this set. Okay, that's what's cool about our menu. If you get bored of whatever it is you've been opening, there's so many things that you probably haven't tried. There's a lot of cool stuff to open. Okay, so I have to go get more of the Avatar, though. I'll be back. I want the TCC ball back. Sheesh. All right, let me go grab. Haha. Where is Alexis? You got me today. I could be cute like Alexis. Hey guys. Here's 5 of these. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. There we go. I brought in an extra fresh box just in case. I was helping Kirsch there with the groceries. There we are. She's busy just like I am, but my job's a little more live streamy than hers. Remember when Alexis would stream? I remember. Yeah, she's kind of showing up too late in the day to stream. She shows up and there's just a bit of time to do the shipping. From what I understand, her schedule's a little tough on her because she's got to be able to have somebody watch her daughter while she's out, and so she has to find a time window that works for her, and that's getting I guess it's difficult to do that. I get it though. There we go. Whew. Anthony Kalura. Here we are. Oh, what is this? Ty Lee popular. This card's gonna be popular. Okay, you picking up Ty Lee right away. Right, let's trade him out like that. There we go. I'm itching to simp. Here's a holo. Oh. Wait, I'll put on a wig. Hey guys. How's that doing? Is that working for you? Daycare is usually $50 a day or more. Adds up. Do you not post on TikTok anymore? No, I still post on TikTok. I posted like 2 days ago. Here we are. All right. Maybe you're following the fake account or something. All right. Ooh. Remember when Mystery used to stream until 6 in the morning? Back in his prime. I remember. Toss this away. Remember when Pokemon used to release Pokemon sets that were actually good? I remember. Yeah, we had a lot more to open back then. But also, you remember when there wasn't like 30 to 40% food inflation, rent inflation, gas inflation? I remember. How are people supposed to afford Pokemon cards? Everything got more expensive. There we are. Ho-ho! Times have changed, guys. We're still doing really good. All right. Here's a holo. Mister, remember when marriage was between a man and a woman? It's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. There we are. There we go. But Mr. got a point. Modern Pokemon is twish. Yeah, it's not like they're releasing Cosmic Eclipse level of Pokemon cards lately. Did you guys notice that? When's the last time Pokemon released a set like Cosmic Eclipse where you were genuinely surprised at how extremely good all of the hits were in the set? It's just not a thing anymore. They just don't do it. They haven't released a single set like Hidden Fates. Hidden Fates with shiny Charizard, and the cards actually looked good. Like, they released copycat sets that were like Hidden Fates, but the cards don't look as good. Did you notice that? It's like they weren't able to repeat it. I'm gonna turn this down a little bit. Hidden Treasures and all that, it doesn't look as good for some reason. It's a bit off. You notice if you hold the two cards up side by side, Hidden Fates, Hidden Treasures, they're just not the same. They changed the artwork somehow. The style is not in the same way. The power of one, the power of two, the power of man. Wow, that was a pretty cold round, actually. All right, let's go ahead and sleeve these up. All right. Mr. Anthony. I apologize for that, man. Let's get Anthony a bonus pack, guys. I feel like Anthony's round was a bit cold. All right, here we are. on, Andy. Highly popular, the bonus pack. Oh, yeah, there we go. Perfect. Perfect. All right. So now you got Tylee and Soka. Warm welcome. There we go. That's a great card. When the bonus pack hits just right. Okay. Very good. Okay, Anthony Kalura, let's grab your box. Last week, you got a video made because you pulled a Charizard out of that old Merlin 2 set. It was pretty amazing. Mr. Is everything going on with inflation, gas, food, quality of life going to affect your vote this year? You know, I mentioned that I didn't like Kamala Harris, and I upset somebody in that stream. And I felt bad about upsetting them. I did, because when it comes to politics, guys, politics shouldn't be the most important thing about life right now. People really get too invested in it, maybe. Like, look, if Trump wins, not much is going to change in my opinion. If Kamala wins, not much is going to change in my opinion. There might be some changes to your quality of life, but if you're here already in the U.S., life's pretty much going to be very similar. But anyways, let's talk about it for a minute. Has all the inflation, gas, food, and quality of life affected my vote? I can't vote for the Joe Biden and Kamala Harris group because they're going to keep the cost of gas high because they're very much into like the green energy movement. I'm not against green energy. I think if we reduce drilling for oil, they just drill for it in a different part of the world. Like, you know, it might be Saudi Arabia, somewhere in the Middle East. It might be Iran. It might be Brazil or something. So they just drill for the oil somewhere else, and we just have to import it at that point, or some other country imports it. So not drilling it doesn't benefit us. And so they shut down the Keystone Pipeline, and they made it harder and more expensive to drill oil, and this caused the cost of gas to rise. What about our plans for long-term capital gains? That by itself is affecting my choice. Yes, so they've taken a very anti-rich people. You know, we don't want you to be able to earn as much money in the stock market. You're going to be punished, for taking your money and saving it in the stock market, for allocating resources to the stock market. And it's a pro-tax, pro-wealth redistribution campaign. Am I for welfare? Am I for socialism? Am I for communism? Not really. I think it creates the wrong incentives. It incentivizes people to live more comfortably rather than working harder. I don't agree with that. I'm a hard worker type. And also, it puts more money into the hands of the government. The government, you already know they're bad with money. That's why there's $35 trillion of debt. So why would I volunteer to just give them more of it? It doesn't make any sense. So yeah, I think that also, finally, if you punish the wealthy, like let's say, oh, you're earning too much, we're going to have to raise your capital gains to 40%, just like Europe. What's going to happen is, well, you're going to lose some of your millionaires. They come here to spend their money in the local economy, to invest in the local economy, to pay taxes here because of the lower tax rates. Well, when that's no longer true, they're going to move to somewhere like UAE or whatever tax havens exist in the world. They're just going to move their wealth away from the United States. So I do believe you can raise taxes on the wealthy, but you can't raise it to like 99%. There's like this limit where you get to keep most of them and raise taxes. And so it's sort of like a balancing act, and you can't go too far. Do I think they go too far? I think they do, actually. I think if you get really close to Europe, the millionaires are just going to stay in Europe, and they're also going to move to Europe. All right, Danny Sainamore, 2004 Chrome Lord of the Rings. So those are my thoughts. You're welcome to change my mind. I'm very respectful when it comes to politics, guys. This is a card shop. So everyone's welcome. Everyone can have their own opinions. I don't care who you are, what you believe in. This is a card shop. But yeah, if you want to talk a little politics, I'll share some of my opinions and you can share yours. This is a safe place to do that. We're not going to beat you up for having a different opinion. There's a lot of beating people up going on in politics these days, and I don't agree with it. I think it's the wrong way to do things. When it comes to politics, you're supposed to just help people understand where you're coming from, where you get your ideas from. But what you mostly see is people just getting really passionately angry at each other, you know, and just hating on each other. And it's not the right way to do politics. Politics has always been about persuasion. Wow, look at this. Danny Sainamore with a big hit. So you're supposed to persuade me of your ideas, and I'm supposed to persuade you of my ideas. But we're not supposed to just openly hate each other. All right. You have to accept that people are different from each other. They have different personality types, different life experiences, different moral beliefs, different cultural beliefs. And this is leading to their ideas. In the end, we're just supposed to make the smartest idea. Ooh, look at that. We're just supposed to do whatever works. Here we are. Kind of like, squirrels save up in the winter. They save nuts up in the winter, right, to survive the winter? Well, let's say in squirrel politics, they're arguing over how many nuts to save. Well, there's an optimal amount of nuts to save, and they're just supposed to do that. They're not supposed to have a big, I hate you, you hate me fight over it. You're just supposed to do exactly what you're supposed to do. But the question is, they don't know how many nuts need to be saved. So that's a little squirrel analogy. Well, it's the same way for humans. For humans, there's an optimal move. We're just supposed to make it like chess. We are. And the question is, what is that optimal move? And we're not 100% sure. Last political question. What are your thoughts about RFK endorsing Trump? Yeah, I think that it's definitely a threat to the Democrat Party that he came out and made a very, very heavy admonishment of their moves. I think what he said was influential for sure. And I think it shows that the Democrat Party has changed in some pretty significant ways. The Republican Party has changed too. It's become the Donald Trump Party. So both parties are emerging and looking a lot more like, in my opinion, like World War II, the sort of like the Bolsheviks versus the this versus the that, right? So you're seeing the emergence of like nationalism is emerging, populism is emerging, but also communism is emerging. So you're seeing the emergence of these old ideas. And RFK Jr. is from an earlier time when the Democrats in America were not really like that. The Democrats were more like the conservatives of today. And so, yeah, it makes sense that he would cross lines like that, especially after the way he was treated. He was treated like he was crazy. He was treated like, he wanted to have a primary against Biden. And the Democrats didn't allow it, even though they knew that Joe Biden had serious mental decline. We all knew it. But they knew, and they wouldn't allow a primary against Biden. So then RFK had to run independent from the Democrats. He was originally running as a Democrat. He wanted to run against Joe Biden. They just didn't allow it to happen. So then he had to run independent. Well, they've sued him all over the place to stop him from running. The Democrats are actually suing RFK to stop him from running. And the news media, which he is arguing is just an arm of the Democrat Party, doesn't allow him to be seen anywhere. So that he's hidden from the mainstream media. So he's complaining about that. He's saying it's supposed to be a free media, but it's actually a media that's owned by political parties. And this is creating the outcomes in the politics that almost seems, sort of like the very thing that you would criticize your opponent for, which is a monopolization of ideas. And this monopolization is only occurring because you can purchase the speakerphone, you can purchase the microphone and keep it in your party's sort of like pocket, I suppose. So, if you have this really rich, powerful billionaires, conservatives have some too, but if you have these billionaires buying up, the news media and perhaps the big tech, and then controlling what gets shown to the American people, well, then you really can kind of be very anti-democratic, very anti-free speech, anti-thought. You're not really allowing a diversity of thoughts. You're just kind of restricting and controlling the outcomes of the election. So they didn't allow him to run against Joe Biden. They sued him all over the place to stop him from running. And so it's no surprise that he would then say, you know what? This Democrat Party doesn't even look like the Democrat Party I used to be in the past anyways. It looks very different now. This is a very different party now. And that's why he did it. And I think it was probably very concerning for some Democrats. I don't know if it's enough to swing the election one way or another. Who knows? I mean, it said that he had like 1% of the vote, but nobody really knows until the results are in, right? Jeff Leon, 2 spots in the Evo break. You got it, Jeff Leon. All right, let's get this rolling. I think what's damaging for the Democrats with him joining the Republicans, what's damaging for them is he came off as very sincere. That's the problem. RFK Jr. was not trying to fight anybody. He was coming off as sincerely as possible. And I think that's why libertarians liked him so much. He was a sincere kind of guy. questioning problems like, you know, there are problems with like corporations owning our regulatory bodies for like food and health, and he's saying, hey, we can't have that. So he was addressing problems that both the left and the right might agree on. And so for him to pick one side over the other, I do think that's damaging. So 3 hidden trials. All right. Does RFK and the Brainworm count as the same person in the ballot? 3 from Nightmares. All right. Well, that's the next move, isn't it? So the next move is they have to spin him off as clinically insane, even though every time he speaks, he sounds pretty intelligent. There we go. All right, let's get it. Jeff Leon. I think that's their next move, is they have to spin him off as clinically insane. Oh, he's a drug dealer. He's got worms in the brain. Snip this. All right. He's Alex Jones 2.0. The turn of the frickin' frogs gay. So that's their next move. All right. We'll never get out of our national debt as trillions of dollars shake my head. Did you watch his speech? Yes, I did, actually. He gave a scathing rebuke of the Democrat Party. He wasn't, like, praising Trump. What he was saying is the Democrat Party is corrupt. You know, it started with, like, Hillary Clinton. Do you guys remember when Hillary Clinton ran? And Bernie Sanders had to go up to debate against her. And the actual Democrat Party was giving Hillary Clinton the questions of the debate ahead of time, which is a huge scandal. It's cheating. But they were doing this to make sure that she won. And this was only revealed because she got hacked by Chinese hackers and her emails were revealed. So it turned out they were cheating to make Bernie Sanders lose and Hillary Clinton win. So that Democrat Party appears to be democratic, but I don't know. It just almost seems like it's not. It seems like they decide who your leader will be, not you. So they did that, and then they had another round, and it was Joe Biden versus Bernie Sanders again. And it felt once again like Bernie Sanders was basically told to leave. There we go. All right, Azul. And now this third thing that's occurred where they wouldn't allow RFK to primary Joe Biden, and then Kamala Harris was just sort of selected. There was no primaries. It's all the same. It's almost like you don't get to choose your leader. Your leader is chosen for you. It's ironically very anti-democratic, which is what they accused the other party of. They say, oh, yeah, well, you're a threat to democracy. It was like, you're not very democratic. Here we go. We've got Rage Quit Bit Beedrill Slab. That's a nice one. I like it. Rage Quit Bit. Very good. Okay, one more. Haha. What do you think about Kamala just being put as a presidential nominee without being voted for? It is deeply contradictory, or let's call it's a huge hypocrisy that they would accuse the Republican Party of not being very democratic when the Republican Party did host primaries and the Democrat Party didn't. They pretty much just picked Kamala Harris. They said she should run. And so the Democrats don't get to choose their leader. They're told who to vote for. It's a very, very significant difference. They could have picked a different Democrat leader, Gavin Newsom, maybe Bernie Sanders. He's still alive. He speaks as good as Donald Trump. He's old, but we all understood Biden couldn't speak. Bernie Sanders can. But once again, he's not an option, I suppose. She was just chosen, and it's kind of creepy, actually. It's very creepy. All right. There we have it. Yeah, I don't like it at all. Monkey Virus, Miguelito. If I was Bernie Sanders, I'm walking in there and swinging on everybody. RFK sounds like he's going to die any day now. Yes, but that's because he has a voice box problem. He's actually quite healthy. He's very healthy. But he has a voice box problem that he got in the past, and he was supposed to not be able to use his voice box anymore, but they were able to, I guess, repair it to some degree that he could still speak. So, don't judge it too fast. What are your thoughts about Kamala being inserted as the nominee not voted? Yeah, I don't like that at all. Calling the Gordy Full-Art trainer from Evolving Skies. Does RFK and Brainworm count? What's up, Alvaro? All right, so here's Drifloon. Oh. I really feel like is an interesting presidential cycle, because I feel like the biggest thing that's standing out to me is it's becoming a boys versus girls sort of election. That's how it feels. All right, we got Eustace, Captain Kidd, Golbat, Snorlax, Thing, and Drifloon. Drifloon's pop 1. Thing is a $30, this is a rare card in the box, right? So the boxes cost hundreds of dollars, and this guy's a rare pull out of there. He's not a Pokemon, though. I feel like people aren't going to buy this. You think that's why they won't let certain people of interest and or celebrities, they would be able to generate mass followings voting that they could rig? Well, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. All that kind of stuff is just speculation. I just think it would have been better for there to been a very fast primary. But I think the Democrat Party probably did what they thought was safer, which was to just go with the vice president, Kamala Harris. So to them, that was probably the safe move. And so I can understand them just trying to make the best strategic move on their end. But it's just, again, it's hypocritical to accuse the Republican Party of being anti-democracy, and then you literally being without votes for your candidate. Like, come on, dude. It's very, very hypocritical. All right, let's see. Jeff Leon, 3 Hidden Trials. 3 From Nightmares. You got it. I think the harder part is just that I don't really know what she stands for. She's very pro-abortion, and she's very pro-wealth redistribution, which I think, again, I enjoy economics. That's why the name of the channel is TheCardconomist. I love economics. I really don't believe in wealth redistribution. I think it basically causes your country to fail. Some of it should occur, like charity, food, water, sure. But like there's this level of it where if you have too much of it, you bankrupt. So I feel like America's at that point, we're bankrupting, and we should not go that direction further. We should just maybe even reduce the amount of entitlements we hand out and say, look, these entitlements, you guys are addicted to them. Everything you think should be free. It just can't be that way. The whole world doesn't work free. What we should do instead is just make sure that we take our money and invest it. So the government should invest the money. But we should get out of needless wars that cost us, I don't know, like billions and billions and billions of dollars, and say, hey, world, you guys didn't build up a military? That's too bad. Russia wins. That's it, because that's what's going on. Russia is struggling with Ukraine for one reason only. The West, that is all of Europe and America, just keep pumping that country with money. But Russia probably should have already won that battle. Russia should have steamrolled Ukraine and taken it. And that's Ukraine's fault for not having better defense. And it's about to be the rest of Europe's problem to not have better defense if NATO did dissolve, which I don't know if it would, but you know, here in America, we're like, where does all our money go? Where does all our money go? Well, we do things like we fund NATO. We pay the largest amount into NATO, and then other countries don't pay into NATO. And then when someone like Donald Trump stands up and says, that's not fair, the media jumps on him and says, how could he? He's going after our allies. Well, our allies who are basically parasiting off of our taxpayers. It shouldn't be our responsibility to fund the wars all over the world. Look at what's happening to our country's debt. It's out of control debt. You can't argue that. That's a fact. Our country has out of control debt. So we can choose to fund way more wars, which there's a whole like for-profit war machine that really wants that because that's how they get rich. So they're going to do a lot of propaganda for that. They're going to be like, we got to have it, we got to have it, we got to have it, we got to be the world police, we got to be the world police. And then it just, financially, it's just wrecking us. But then on top of it, we have these heavy entitlements and a sort of Santa Claus, vote for me, I'm Santa Claus sort of mindset, which I would say became much worse ever since the Obama administration. And that'll bankrupt us too. We'll be just like Europe. We'll be like, hey, you know, you're going to have to pay 40, 50, 60% of your money, your income should go to the government. And then the government will give you back a slice of health care, but you'll have to wait in line for months unless you're on death row. So that'll be health care eventually, because there's not enough free health care ever. It's just the nature of the world. You know, it's like one of those biological laws. There's never enough free stuff, is there? Not enough hard workers, too many people asking for free stuff. It always breaks. So my perception of wealth redistribution is that it always ends in bankrupt. Bankruptcy. All right, here goes Bryce Wolf. One PokeBruh. It eventually leads to bankruptcy. That's because people can never get enough of the free stuff. It's like an addiction. You know, if you can get addicted to drugs, well, you can get addicted to free money too, but there's no such thing as free money. Here's Groudon. We got Cosmog, Palkia, Trevenant, Omastar, and Moltres, and the Fire Monkey. That's a cold pack, Mr. Bryce. Try again. That is a cold pack. We have cold packs on the PokeBruhs now. Mister, there was more to Jeff's order. Oh, my! I'm going to go back and fix Jeff's order. I'm sorry, Jeff. We're going to get that fixed. That sounds like me. All right. All right. Let's see. Two PRB1s. You got it. Two PRB1s, Mr. Jeff. Is that it? Is that the part I missed? 3 Hidden Trials, 3 From Nightmares, 2 PRB1s. It's got to be the PRB1s. All right, you got it, Jeff. Let's pull you that God Pack. I want a God Pack. What do you think about the Second Amendment? Amendment banning assault rifles and magazines. Yeah, that's a great question. A lot of people are stuck on that conversation, whether regular people should be allowed to own guns. Every time there's a mass shooting, people are really unhappy with that, and they go, well, we could take guns away. That'll solve it. The primary counter argument being, oh, we need to own guns in case we need to overthrow our government or to keep our government in check. And people just go back and forth on that one all day long. I think that one's a really tricky one to answer because it's not so sure which way is the right way to go with that one. For me, I know for other people it's an easy decision. Some people are very strong with the Second Amendment. Some people are very strongly against it. For me, I'm more in the middle. I don't know how I feel about it because I really do think there's stupid people out there who don't need to be having a gun. But then on the other hand, I think it is kind of a problem to have maybe an out-of-control government that also has no fear of its citizens at all. Like, we can just do whatever we want to them. They don't got guns. So, you know, you typically, historically have seen, before a government takes over a country, the first thing they do is they remove all the guns from the citizens. That's actually historically accurate. Jeff Leon, 3 Azure English and 3 SAOs. All right. Mr. Jeff, 3 of these. And, ooh, hold on. There we go. 3 of these. Oh, yeah. The Second Amendment isn't just about owning pews. All right. Yeah, that one's a real tough one. There we go. There are some people who are real absolutist about everyone should be able to own whatever they want when it comes to guns. I just think that there's a lot of crazy people out there who really will just use the guns for political terrorism, for, I was bullied in high school. I'm going to show out all you guys, murder, suicide. It's pretty bad, But the funny thing is, let's say you took away the AR-13s or 14s or whatever they're called. Even if you took them away, a handgun's going to be pretty much a good replacement because handguns are pretty powerful and cost the majority of the shootings. So it's like, if you really wanted to stop all the shootings, you would have to go after the handguns. Here we go. What do we got? Oh! All right. Konnichiwa. Very nice. We got 1 konnichiwa from Mr. Jeff Leon. Number 2. Australia. Ooh, 2 konnichiwas and 3 packs. That's pretty good, Jeff. All right. But, you have this stuff going on like in the UK right now where it's... you got these big riots going on, and people can't really defend themselves properly from a riot, by the way, when there's no guns, right? Like, if you can just riot and no one else has a gun, it kind of changes the riot game, doesn't it? Wow, you're picking up a lot of full arts, dude. Look at that. Okay. So it changes the game a little bit when everyone's unarmed. And then also, at the same time, you still have mass killings. There was a mass killing from a Syrian man in Germany. ISIS took credit for the attack. It was a mass stabbing. 3 people died, 9 wounded. So the mass killings go on anyways, but just with different weapons. Maybe it'll be like pressure bombs and stuff like that, or arson, trying to set places on fire. Who knows? But taking gun away won't stop bad people necessarily, is my point. But maybe it will make their mass killings less destructive. It's hard to say. But yeah, you would need to take away the handguns in order to stop the majority of the shootings. Jeff Leon. Oh, yeah. There we go. Here in America, people hold on to their guns really strongly. They say, hey, I want the government to be afraid of a political uprising from the grassroots, a militia. And that's the majority of people who are really behind the Second Amendment want that. Then there's some people who want them for practical reasons, like girls and elderly people who are scared of being overpowered by violent men. They say, well, I feel safer with a gun in my home, you know? Or like maybe you got a mountain of Pokemon cards and you're like, well, people should have to know that, hey, if you step into my house, I'm armed. So there's stuff like that, you know, actual self-defense. But yeah, I think the majority of it's probably ideological. Let's see what you guys are saying. You guys are saying, what would you do if someone kicked in your door with firearms? Reopen asylums. Right now, the streets are the asylum. Yeah, so we have asylums. They're called the streets. And we could reopen asylums if you wanted to spend lots and lots of money on asylums. And so that's up to you guys. It's tough because do the asylums just become another property of the government, a new money funnel, a new giant siphon of, oh, well, we're going to need billions of dollars to save all these people, but not really. They just need a way to put their friends into well-paid jobs of, hey, here's some government money to care for people. So it's difficult to say what, but I can tell you a lot of people have the wrong idea about homelessness problems. They think if you spend money on the homeless, that this will solve the homeless. What it actually does is it increases the number of homeless people that come to you for your free stuff. So the number one thing that will cut off the homeless is you actually have to stop giving them stuff. Then they will say, well, I'm going somewhere else. This other state treats me better. This state over here called California. All right, Jesse Salinas picking up the Alolan Persian. Nice, dude. Every time you create a policy for the homeless, where it's like, we're going to spend money on the homeless, it ironically creates more homelessness because they flock to you. They go, where are the best benefits? They got them. So whoever's got the best benefits also ironically has the most homelessness. And so it's very counterintuitive because your thoughts are, we got to help them, we got to help them, we got to help them. Some people you just cannot help. They've got drug addiction and they don't want to do away with it, or they simply can't. The drugs win. It's like a virus that your body can't win the fight against. They've lost the fight. You could put them in institutions if you want to spend a lot of money putting them into institutions. But again, it might just become another way for the government to raise taxes on you and funnel money into the pockets of their friends. And who knows what they do with that institution. I like the idea of just charity, you know, churches and stuff like that. Rehabilitation, maybe a little bit. But the number one thing you can do to get rid of homelessness, pick the homeless up in a bus or something and just bus them somewhere else. That's the number one solution. It sounds crazy as hell. It sounds really evil, really unloving, no sympathy, no empathy. I totally get all that. But if you wanted to be most effective, you just put them all in a bus, you just drop them off on some other state's or country's border and say, your problem now. And then all the people over there are all twisting their hands going, how much money are we going to spend on them? We have to save them. So it becomes their problem and not your problem. And all of a sudden your streets are very nice and clean. And you go, oh, this is nice. I like this. Next up, we got Jeff Leon, 4 Hidden Trials, 4 from Nightmares. What I think a lot of well-meaning people don't understand about homelessness is there is a near infinite amount of people in the world from all over. Near infinite amount of people. In fact, it doesn't have to be infinite. It just has to be enough people to bankrupt you. There's enough people in the world who are homeless to cause you to go bankrupt trying to save them. That's it. That's what you have to understand. There is actually not enough money to save all the homeless people in the world. There isn't. They have to, at one point, acknowledge that and start saving themselves. All right. Because, you know, first you'll deal with your local homeless, then you'll start dealing with the global homeless. And there are so many people who would love to have free food, free water, free shelter, free bathrooms, free housing, which is really crazy. How expensive is that? There are normal, non-drug addicted families who could use free housing and be productive in it, but we're giving it to people who are unproductive. Doesn't make any sense. It's a bad investment, essentially, right? It's a bad investment. How much money do we have for bad investments before we go broke? So I think it really is hard to think financially for some people, but pretend you're Scrooge. You're a financier, and you just need to invest your money properly. And you need to turn your heart off for a minute and use your effing brain for like 2 seconds. These are not investments. These are strictly money wastings. These are non-productive people who are not interested in being productive. Most of them. And so if you create these gigantic government expensive programs to save them all, you'll just get more of them as everyone flocks to you for the free stuff, and then you will bankrupt. And the people will start shutting their businesses down. They'll be like, I don't want to be near this. What is this, homeless person mecca? Where am I living? The capital of homeless people? What is this, the city of homeless tents? So the businesses, because they are very brand aware, very image aware, they start shutting down. They're tired of the stealing. They're tired of the theft. They're tired of the needles, the human feces. They start shutting down. They go, I'm going somewhere else, man. They're making cool cities up in Colorado and Utah and Nevada and Florida and Texas. I'm Texas tough. And those places have different homelessness policies, and so the businesses just go over there. And then all of a sudden, your whole area starts to look like it's just there to host a homeless encampment. And all your hard-earned tax money just drains out of your pocket and into the pockets of people who are bad investments. So, yeah, I mean, there has to be a limit to your morality. There has to be a limit to your sympathy and your empathy. That limit should be a financial limit. There is a point where you go bankrupt. You shouldn't go beyond bankruptcy. But, you know, people are that crazy that they would. We got to save them. 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 You know, it's hard for people to accept that you can't save everybody. And I think that's maybe a more defining aspect of the Republican Party is it's easier for them to say, I give up. I don't want to help these people anymore. And the Democrats are more like, oh, we can definitely save them. Hope and change or something like that, right? Some people are just broken. What are you going to do about it? It's just nature, dude. It's part of nature. It's like, have you ever seen all the animals in nature? They all struggle all the time to survive. We're still in that nature. We're just in fancier tents than we ever used to be. So we're still in nature. It's still a test of your survivable skills. And some people got them and some people just don't got them. What can you do about it? You're going to fight nature? You go bankrupt fighting nature. Actually, if you count sympathy and empathy as part of nature, then you could say there was a group of humans who went bankrupt because they were too high in the empathy stat, and this caused them to go bankrupt, and now they died too. So, you know, if you were to measure it sort of like a scientist or an analyst, you say there are some humans who rank too high in empathy, and it causes them to bankrupt trying to save people who won't take care of themselves. All right, that was a lot of words. Let's see. Send the homeless to China. Well, China, you know what? China's really, really tough, man. You know what China would do? They'd scoop them up and organ harvest them. That's what China would probably do, because they're over there and they got leaders who are ruthless and they are not voted on. So they could do whatever they think is smartest instead of doing what they think is best for the voter. They just say, hey, look at all these free organs we're getting. So they'll go take them and put them into labor camps, and then they'll organ harvest them, which maybe that makes them the winner. Maybe they will defeat us because they're so tough. All right, but it's not good. Obviously, it's really bad to do that. Cough, Washington, D.C., just give them work. They work for everything else, and if not, then they get the boot. Yeah, I mean, there are people who are homeless who can be saved. That's true, actually. People go homeless and they can be saved. But then there's a group of them, and they're like, no way, Jose. The reason I'm homeless is because I hate to work. So, and then you have to recognize who's who and say, cool, get in this bus, and I'm dumping you off in the state of Missouri. You're not staying in California. We have a nice place over here. You're not welcome here. If you don't like working, you got to go to the ugly state of Missouri. Well, or whatever state you want to dump them in. But then all the states will say, you can't be dumping homeless people. And then it's like, all of a sudden you realize what a lot of countries are doing. They're saying, which country can we dump our homeless in? Because it's a whole strategy to save your own country. I think in the past there were these huge wars, and the wars wiped out the homeless. That's what wars and famine wiped out the homeless in the past. So if you weren't a skilled enough human or hard enough working human, nature took you, and if nature didn't take you, war took you, and then nature took you after the war. So we don't have that anymore. It's a sign of prosperity, actually, but you know, the prosperous times are ending. We have a national debt of $35 trillion. We have a debt to income ratio of 123%, meaning we have more debt than we do income. It's actual insanity. What's up, Super Dan? All right, next up we've got... People don't like to talk about it. They don't like to talk about it. It's boring, or it scares them, or it makes them frustrated. Joey Maycumber for Temporal Forces. You got it. They go, ew, yucky. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. 2, Primal Clash. All right. Here we are. Whoa. Very nice. They go, this is boring. Let's talk about Skibidi Toilet, which is a lot more fun. Snip this stuff. My work here is done. Primals want to know. Primals want to know. What does Liver King eat on Saturdays? All right. There's no easy way to make this kind of content like digestible. I think most people hate it. And you'd be wealthier if you're obsessed with it, because it means that you got a brain for money. I think you would. I think at the end you would just be a wealthier kind of person because you're really interested in how money works. Here's Phoebos. How does money work? Money, the measurement of human productivity, is all it really is in the end. It's just a measure of human labor. It's like human life force almost. Ooh. That rich guy has a lot of it, and everyone gets mad about it. Here's Azumarill. Hey, I'm going to need some of that. Here's Azumarill. Here's Whiscash. He's a fish. Ho-ho. Very nice. Pokemon's a Japanese product. Did you guys know the Japanese are much more conservative than we are in the United States? They're extremely conservative over there. No weed allowed. Jail time for weed in Japan. They are very conservative in Japan. All the bowing, right? That's conservative stuff. Very low crime. Very tough crime punishments is part of it. So you will find it surprising. Have you seen how the girls dress? They dress very conservatively over there. You probably never put that together before, but yeah, if you ever watch them walking in the streets, everyone's dressed very conservatively. Business suits, business attire. They are a conservative country. Here's Golett. Oh. Okay, and Raichu. Did you hide this bag of sandwich boxes under the table? Hey, can I get sandwich bags? What's up, Alexis? I'm going to go grab Alexis some sandwich baggies. All right. Slide that into a sleeve. I'll be right back. But have you seen the absolute degen stuff they put in their cartoons? Nuh-uh, I ain't falling for it. No, they really are a very conservative country. Maybe that's a fun thing for people to learn. We could go over it sometime. All right, I'll be right back. What are you watching, Mike Side? I'm back. Man, we got to do a break on something we haven't done a break on in a long time. Whew. I'm going off the waifu card sets. Oh. All right. Ooh. Maybe it's a sign there's a lack of feminism in Japan. There we go, Joey. Joey? Oh, here it is. Joey Maycumber. All right. Oop, did my music stop? All right. Ta-da! Yeah, that might be a sign there's less feminism in Japan. Might be a more patriarchal society. Here's a Charizard. This just got added to the table. It's a nice one. $110. We've got Cryptid Carnival, Metazoo, Hello Kitty. Meow. Here's Arachu. We've got Dark Houndoom. And Glizzlord. But mister, you got to remember Japan's birth rate. Birth rate is a problem in any advanced society. It's a really interesting conversation to have. Anthony Kalura. How do you guys think we solved the birth rate problem? We are. Anthony Kalura. All right. I shall move to Japan. But stuff! Hey! That ain't a solution. That might be part of the problem, actually. How do you get girls to have babies? Mister never been to Japan, so I don't know what he's talking about. They dress like anyone in the States dress. Here we are. Sidar says propaganda. Passport, bros. Some people can't have kids well or easily. Metazoo mentioned to the moon. I saw Rudy made a Metazoo video, and he was saying that there are no plans for Metazoo to be purchased by anyone. So it's looking pretty dark for Metazoo. Could it be the end? There you go. All right. The end of Metazoo. All right. He was saying he lost money on Metazoo because he had a bunch of it. Let the government be the big babysitter it's trying to be. Women won't give a F about popping kids out anymore if they don't have to take care of them. Ooh, that sounds really awful. That sounds really, really awful. When you say let the government be the big babysitter, what you actually mean, Super Dan, is let other men pay for women's children. So let's say some girl has babies in Missouri. Now you're on the hook for paying for it. You don't live in Missouri. You didn't get to have sex with her. You didn't have the pleasure of having a relationship with her. But you're on the hook for paying for whatever she does with her kids. That sounds like communism. Smooch. Here's a holo. Here's a holo. That sounds like the opposite of fun. Here's a holo. I joined to birth rate convo. Yeah, conversation's been all over the place today. Birth rates are declining. My plan for the birth rate is we should change Social Security. So my belief is that we should actually abolish it because it doesn't work. So financially, it looks like it works until you realize it's sort of a pyramid scheme where you need a couple children to support one old person who didn't save up for retirement. It should be each person's responsibility to save up for their own retirement. People don't like to hear that. They get angry if you tell them that. They go, hey, wait a second. I don't want to have to save up for myself. That ain't right. So people don't like to hear that. But we should abolish Social Security, and your children should be responsible for your retirement. And when this goes, and by the way, as crazy as that sounds, that's exactly how it worked for almost all of human existence. Only very recently was Social Security invented. It was invented like 100 years ago or something. Like maybe like 80 years ago. When was Social Security invented? Hold on. Let me look. When was Social Security invented? 1935. See, almost 100 years ago. It was Franklin D. Roosevelt made it up. So for almost all of human existence, there was no Social Security. You were retired if you had children because your children turned around and took care of you. What Social Security essentially did was it turned having children into a socialized financial decision. Meaning now your children have to go to work and pay for everyone's grandma instead of just your grandma. And this does not work in a society that cannot have infinite growth. And it also doesn't work in a society where some people don't want to have any children. They just want to live off of the Social Security benefits that are provided to them by other people's children. Do you see the problem? So there's now an incentive to not have children, but to accept those benefits. See the problem? So you have to end Social Security. That's one of the steps. Social Security has to come to an end. It was made up less than 100 years ago. All of human existence has not been a guaranteed retirement. Your children retire you. That's been the way it worked for all of human existence except for the last 80 years. And the number one expense on the books of the government are entitlements for old people. That's the number one expense. Not the military like you might be told to believe. It's actually retirement. As it turns out, you can't afford it. Can't afford to retire everybody. There we are. So if you have 5 children, society gets to drain them tax-wise for everyone else's grandma. No. If you invested in having 5 children, which costs a lot of money, you should receive the benefit of those 5 working people taking care of you. So there should be a reward system for your children to take care of you rather than the whole society. It doesn't make any sense the other way around. And and then all of a sudden people that say, I'm not going to have kids. Well, you're not going to have a retirement either. But, you can do whatever you want. You're free to do whatever you want, but there should be a consequence to that. We are. Social Security gets rid of that consequence. So it's disconnected us from consequences. Very important to understand this. And we're going broke because of those entitlements. It is the biggest expense. I'm going to invest in robots. Reward system for having kids. What if people don't want kids? Just F those people then. Well, no. Not F those people. But if you don't want to have kids, that's fine. But if I spend a lot of money having kids, because, everyone agrees they cost a lot of money, right? My kids should not then fund your retirement if you didn't have any. Now, you tell me, Stephen, does that sound fair? So if I spend all the money having a bunch of children early in life, and you play around early in life, later in life when my children aren't productive, why should they pay for you to retire instead of them just paying for me to retire? So, political ideas are all about this kind of conversation. So think about it, kind of mull it over for a second and tell me what's more fair. The company you work for should be matching your 401k and returns pay out your retirement. Let's click on this. Well, I'm not against people saving up for retirement. That's what I think the problem is people don't do that. Joey Maycumber 2 Primal Clash. All right, here we are. Ho-ho! What do you think about that particular idea, Mr. Steven? Snipping this. If I invest all the money early in life in raising 5 children, which is very expensive, everyone agrees with that part, why should they then become your retirement if you didn't do any children? Why do I pay school tax but have no kids? Sure, you can make that argument too. I'm actually against public schools. I was homeschooled. I don't think it was needed. Here's Primal Kyogre. Ooh, yeah. So these are my political beliefs. I'm against public school. I don't want to fund it. I believe in private schools or homeschooling, one or the other. College, for example, is a private institution. I went to a private college. I paid for my own education, and that's how I think it should be. I think you should just pay for your own education. You understand how long it takes to have 5 kids? That alone could take like 10 years. Yeah, my family had 11 children, so I'm pretty aware. That's what I was after, Primal Kyogre. He pulled Primal Kyogre! I think it gets crazier than this, doesn't it? So that says 149 out of 60. Doesn't it get crazier than this? I think there's a crazier pull than that one. That's a good pull, Joey. All right. We've got Lombre and Nidoqueen. Ho-ho. All right. Very nice. How many spots left in the pack break? Depends on which pack break. If you're talking about the purple pack break, it is 4 spots left. Phantom Forces, 4 spots left. If you're talking about Evo Skies, This will be 8 spots left in Evo Skies. I wonder how much I've learned on the internet than I've learned in school. Precisely. We're in like a new time period. We're in a new time period where you can just learn what you need to learn on the internet. But here's what's fascinating about school. Has anyone put together the dots that all school is you paying someone to force you to read a book? That's all it is. You pay some old guy with glasses and a bald head to tell your child you must read this material and learn it. And then we're going to test you. That's all school is. If you really wanted to learn it, you would never have to pay anyone to just go read that stuff in a book. The books are freely available. Just go read the books. You can go learn it online too. YouTube videos are freely available. So that's all learning is. It's the same with college. You go to college, they got like curriculum picked out. They say, you must read this. And then I give them $40,000, which is what I spent. I spent 40. Nowadays it's like 80. That's all education is. It's just somebody telling you to go read a book and then providing proof that you read it. So as it turns out, when it comes to learning and education, you never needed to pay anybody money to go learn something. You could just go learn it. You could go memorize a law book. You could go memorize a math book. You could go memorize a physics book and just actually know all that stuff. There it is, Joey Maycumber. All right, Joey. So in other words, there's only one real value that the school provides, which is the testing. So we could significantly reduce public education funding and reduce what the state spends and what you pay in taxes and what the government prints by reducing how much education you go to school for, and really more like turning it into a testing facility and say, here's what we expect you to go read on your own. Come here and take this test, like the SAT, right? Come take this test and we'll tell your employer if you passed it or not. That's really what it should be. But instead, you got to sit down in class, waste all this time. You could be working a job at the age of 15, which would produce more value to you if you actually worked a job. And you go read the book on your free time. If you're really fascinated in physics and want a job in physics, you should go read the book on your free time. Joey, okay, so we're sharing some really interesting stuff today. But yeah, so I have very strong feelings about the education system. I think that is highly inefficient. I think that we allocate resources to it that don't need to be allocated. It's basically like a slush fund, in my opinion. And yeah, so I was homeschooled my entire life. And then I went to school for one of the hardest degrees. Computer science is a 4-year science degree. And I passed, and I watched all these public school kids around me who had proper education. I had zero education, basically. They all had proper education. They all failed. I watched them all drop out. And I was part of a small group that actually finished. So explain that to me. How is I could be homeschooled with no education in physics or science, and I'm passing, and I'm president of the computer science club, and all these other guys who went to public school are just failing. They're all just failing the course. So to me, it became really clear. The real issue is, will you sit down and read? And that's it. And a lot of people won't. So why am I paying for people to go do something that they won't do on their own anyways? So I'm all about reducing the amount of financial waste in a socialized system. Let's see. Oh yeah, I get it, but that's where the basis of UBI comes into talk to help pay basic needs for those earning under 50K. So on the subject of UBI, America did try UBI, actually. They tried it briefly during COVID. Look at the resulting money supply inflation. So because we printed up all this money we didn't have to pay people to stay at home, not working, not being productive, we are today suffering from like 40% inflation. Now, I know this year it was only like 3%, but it's, it's additive. You stack it on top of each other. So over time, it's like everything's inflated in cost by like 40%. You can see that at the grocery store when you go shopping. So we paid people UBI during COVID and printed up money to do so. And the cost of goods just changed to reflect all of the non-productive money receivers who were then able to just spend money without producing a good or producing a service to offset the money that they received. So UBI is a heavily inflationary policy. It's the same idea. Instead of people having to work and their income being matched by what they produced, they would just receive money for nothing. And then they would, of course, spend that money. And this will drive up demand for goods. But the market of goods will not increase in size at the same rate because, again, they're not working as much. They're just receiving money for nothing. So UBI would cause a financial collapse. It's basically just it's essentially just another word for communism, right? UBI, money for nothing. Joseph Jones on Top Series 1. You got it, Joseph. UBI will cause more inflation than you could even imagine. Would love to share them with you if you're interested. Look at countries UBI's worked in and the studies they worked in. Well, I believe they did try UBI in like Finland or something, and they had to stop it because it didn't work. Let's see. UBI fails in Europe. Okay, here we go. Finland's free cash experiment fails to boost employment. Is Finland's universal basic income trial too good to be true? Well, listen, I know it's a subject that people are still talking about, but I feel like we can also kind of sit about it and reason about it. Let's say you're just receiving free income to stay at home and do whatever it is you want to do with your free time. Are you going to use your free time to sign up to work and potentially lose that free income because you're earning too much? Or are you just going to go play video games? Now, there's going to be some people who really enjoy working. Maybe somebody a little bit like me, and they might just take the money and use it productively. They might invest it. They might invest in their education. They might use their free time searching for a job. But, you know, most humans are really going to just sit around and play video games, right? Ooh, look at that Persian. Lovely. You got Netflix, you got video games, you hang out with your friends. So UBI creates the wrong incentive structure. If you are getting money for nothing, which is at its root, that's what it is, right? That's the most defining feature of UBI. It's getting paid for nothing. You would incentivize people to find a lifestyle where the amount of UBI they receive allows them to have a setup where they never really go into work. They never really have to change or improve or learn something new or do something radical and difficult in their lives. And so all of a sudden, you've got more people in the wagon and fewer people pulling the wagon. UBI is just another name for socialism and communism. That's all it is. What we're doing is we're word engineering. We're learning new word engineerings where it's like socialism is tax these guys over here and give money to guys over there. Well, what is UBI other than that? So it's word engineering. UBI is socialism and communism. That's all it is. But it's a fancy new word, so we're thinking it over going, hey, this is a new idea. We could really try this. This might work. It's what's the new part of it? It's the same exact idea. Print money or raise taxes to give these people over here free money. Okay, that's all it is. And again, in my opinion, that creates the wrong incentive structures. People will work less in that incentive structure. So there will be less products going into the market while some people get money to do nothing, and they will take product out of the market because they're spending that free money. This will cause prices to rise. So you will have, it's an inflationary policy, and people will become very bitter about it. The more stories they hear about it, hey, my uncle, he just sits on his ass and drinks beer all day and buys stuff and plays video games, and I work 40 hours a week and fight with my wife because we're both working and we're stressed and tired and can't afford a child. Why should my uncle sit on his ass and drink beer and not work? Oh, well, he qualified for UBI. You know, that's what it'll turn into, essentially. Here's Houndour. Here's a Magnemite. People should not have to work 3 jobs to scrape by. Raise the minimum wage. That's another really popular one. Raising the minimum wage is the idea of setting the price on labor. So you guys have heard about price caps and stuff like that. That's a government coming in and setting the price of goods. Well, one of the goods that you can buy in a market is this thing called labor. That's why it's called a labor market. So companies have to buy labor to produce goods. You're like a robot. You work for Walmart and you're like a robot that takes bread out of a back room and puts the bread on a shelf. You're a robot. So they're buying you, the robot. There's a certain cost to that. And when you talk about raising minimum wage, you're having the government come in and say, now the cost of that robot is $15 an hour, $20 an hour. Every time you raise the minimum wage, it fails. Because once the cost of labor goes up, that robot has more money to spend. So what do? They just buy more goods out of the market, in particular like rent. Let's say you're a landlord. Everyone's getting $100 an hour because the government raised it to $100. Why not? Let's just go for it. Well, when people apply for a room to rent from you, all of a sudden they just got all this money to rent with. And so the demand for your room skyrockets. And you go, oh, good, I can now raise my prices. So that's precisely how a market works. It reacts to that heightened demand. It says, where's all that heightened demand coming from? Oh, everyone suddenly got extra money. And so the companies that, by the way, they're losing money anyways because they have to pay the workers more. The companies see the increased demand because of all the extra money laying around, and they increase their prices to meet that new demand. And so we have raised minimum wage year after year after year after year, and it's never worked. We've done it for like 100 years. And then every year you hear people say that we could just solve our problems by artificially raising the cost of labor rather than letting the invisible hand of the free market decide the cost of labor. A lot of people don't understand what sets the cost of labor either. They don't understand the principle of it. It's very simple. A doctor has a highly specialized skill, so he charges $400 an hour. And then he goes to trade his skill with the guy who flips hamburgers. He knows that pretty much anyone can flip a hamburger, and he doesn't really value that labor because he could do it himself at home. He could hire somebody to do it at home. So he says, I'm not trading you an hour of my time for an hour of your time. It's an uneven trade. My skill is highly specialized. Yours is the least specialized skill in the society. So I'll pay you $6 for your hamburger, and you'll pay me $400 for your colonoscopy when you have colon cancer. So that's the difference. That's how the labor market is set. It's a question of what do you want to trade your hours for? Would you trade an hour of your labor for an hour of their labor? No, because there's many of them to trade with and only one colonoscopy doctor. So that's essentially what's going on. Fernandez, Phantom, store credit. You got it. All right. And there's no way to really fix that because at the end of the day, everyone can flip a burger. It's a skill that requires very little skill, but being a doctor requires like 15 years of education and hyper intelligence and dedication. So as it turns out, there's just a handful of doctors, whereas the entire country could be a hamburger flipper. That's the cost of labor. It's decided by those factors, not by whether the government thinks that you're making enough. Nobody cares if you're making enough. The market doesn't care about that. The invisible hand of the market does not care if you're making enough. The only thing that matters is what will you trade? Here's Fernandez. All right, let's get you in here. Very nice. We need 3 more people in the Phantom Forces. So it's really important to understand those kind of concepts and principles. Let's say you raise the cost of labor artificially. You just set a price cap. You say, now, it's sort of like a price ceiling. Price floor. Now you must pay $100 an hour for the hamburger flipper. The doctor is like, oh, good. Now I can charge way more for a colonoscopy. And he sits down and some accountant or financier does the math. They're like, we can charge, well, it used to be $400 for the colonoscopy. Now it's $4,000. Boom. And everything's back into balance again. Everything goes back into balance. So it doesn't matter how much you raise your minimum wage. It's impossible to force the doctor to change the value of his trade. He won't lower the amount he makes just because you forced the government to give you more of that fake paper money. He just changes his number too. That's all that happens. The doctor knows you will demand the colonoscopy because you'll die of colon cancer, so he knows you'll demand it. And he says, what do we think they can afford? Well, the minimum wage is now $100. We believe they can afford right? A financier, a business degree sits down and does this part. So he sits down and does the math and he says, this is the amount we can squeeze out of them. And this will never change. You can raise it to $100 an hour, $200 an hour, $1,000 an hour, and that financier will still sit down and decide what you can squeeze out of a worker. And that is where the price of labor comes from. Not from the government. The government can change it as much as they want, but it will never fix it. All right, let's see what you guys are saying. Mr. is mad. He makes close to $100K and has to pay for taxes and think it's unfair. Well, okay, so I won't disclose what I make. It's not bad. But it's not just about that. It's not about having to pay more or less. I mean, I think I do pretty good in the United States. The United States has a good tax structure. But it's the looming $35 trillion debt in the country. Like, don't you want this country to do well? Don't you want it to succeed? I want to see that debt go down. You know what? If Kamala Harris came out and she said, we're raising taxes on high income earners, and here's what we're going to do with that money. We're going to apply it directly to the debt. I'd vote for Kamala. I'd be like, damn, that takes some balls. She's got a big dick and a nice set of balls because she said we're going to defeat the gigantic debt rather than more entitlements because that will decrease the amount of interest that the government owes. The government has to pay that interest out, and it either does that by taxing more or printing more or borrowing more money. So if they said we're going to defeat the debt, I'd be like, holy shit, dude. So I'd be so impressed. But what they do is they say we're going to raise the taxes and we're just going to ship it overseas, essentially. And so, yeah, I'm not a big fan. Like, if society wanted to use my money for something that I really believed in, that I wouldn't really complain about it, is the truth. But they want to use it on things that are essentially bad investments. And so that's where I really get hung up. All right, let's see. All raising minimum wage does is hurt people holding money and not assets, which is us brokies. We're right. Well, there are people who are injured by minimum wage increases. So you would think it's the producers of the goods, but the producers of the goods can just change the price on the good that they're producing. But who really gets hurt by changes in the increases in the minimum wage are basically the middle class. So if you're a teacher and you're earning $25 an hour, and the McDonald's worker is flipping burgers for $7 an hour, but all of a sudden the McDonald's hamburger flipper is earning $20 an hour, all of a sudden you're like actually competing with that person over a home and over rent. But you know who doesn't really care about that? The producers. They're like, well, we don't care. We just increased the cost of a hamburger. Boom. So all of a sudden, the income of the middle class has to go through this gigantic sort of like, altercation. They have to advocate for them to make teacher status level of money again, right? Because it all has to go back into balance. A teacher's job is more valuable than a hamburger flipper's job. This is the least valuable job in society. Teacher's kind of a valuable job all of a sudden. It's always been that way. But they're almost in parity with each other because of the artificial labor costs. And the school is not jumping at the need to change that. So it's not like the school's jumping to go fund the teachers more. So now your teachers have to go on strike. They have to stop teaching. They have to demand more money, or they have to accept that they make the same amount of money as a hamburger flipper. One way or the other, they're fighting now with the hamburger flipper over a home because homes don't have like a price cap. Homes just go up and down with demand. You can have a home over here in the Philippine Islands that costs $10,000 and a home over here in America that costs $10 million. It's just relative to the amount of money everyone's making. So that they're almost in parity with each other. So really, teachers are getting gutted by minimum wage increases, whereas the producer of the goods, the company that produces the hamburgers, they just say the price of a hamburger is $7 now. Boom, instant for them. The landlord says the price of rent's $2,000. I don't know where you live, but the price of rent goes up. The landlord, he doesn't care about the minimum wage increase. He says, oh, good. Now my home is inflated in value, so I didn't lose anything. So he just says the cost of rent is $2,000. So these are financial ideas. I'm trying to help you guys understand how markets work so you can understand how some ideas don't work very well. Nobody can afford any carts now. We'll all send $1 to hear Mr. rant. This is insane. More than 100,000 bro, try a couple mil. Mr. made millions in his first year. So she doesn't just have a fupa. God forbid a burger flipper is competition for owning a home. JFC. Well, I worked really bad jobs when I was younger. I ran away from home. My first job was for Target. I unloaded trucks. It was a dirty job. It was painful. I didn't like it. And I didn't start making any decent kind of money until I was graduated from college and I was turning 28 years old. So that's pretty far along in life. 28 years old, I started earning an okay amount of money. It wasn't even a crazy amount. I had a small job for a bank right out of college with a software degree. And yes, so most of my life I was very, very broke. I made very little money. There was no way I was going to get a house. I didn't buy my first house until after that point too. No way I was going to buy a house. I just rented for most of my life up to this point. And I remember the feeling of the inequality between people, but the solution to that inequality was for me to develop a skill that was equal to their skill. That was the solution. A lot of people who are not very good with money think the solution is just to set the price artificially to the same as both people's skill. So again, the doctor and the burger flipper, we should just set the price of the doctor's skill to be the same as the burger flipper's skill. That never works because the doctor refuses to accept that trade. He says, no, my skill is actually valuable. And so I'm not hating on burger flippers, because I know a lot of people are working those jobs, and I respect the hell out of it. I've done those jobs most of my life, actually. When I worked for Coca-Cola, it was a simple merchandising job. I was just the guy who put soda on the shelf. I got paid $13 an hour to do it, which at the time was a lot. But these are just simple, low-skilled jobs. They're unskilled jobs. And at the time, the minimum wage in Missouri was just $7. So 13 was considered good. And so now in Missouri, the minimum wage is like $12. And to me, it's like, that's almost double what it was when I was younger. So that's a really, really heavy change. And this idea that you can just artificially demand to be rich, it's like a misunderstanding of how money really works, because you can't, the money is a relative thing. Money isn't just worth it because the government stated that the price of money is XYZ. Money is relevant to like the cost of a home or the cost of rent, right? And those things go up. And so, again, if you raise the minimum wage to like $25 an hour, all you've really done is pit yourself against a teacher's income. And now the teachers have to fight to get their income to be above the value of flipping burgers. I'm not hating burger flippers. I actually respect the hell out of them. But you can see how it can't be that way. It can't be that this job that requires like a bachelor's degree in education, it requires all this dedication, it requires, more skill, it requires more commitment. It can't be worth the same job as like picking daisies or something like that, right? If those were set to be equal to each other by the government, because the government interferes with the economy, people would reject it. The market will reject it in some way or another, and you'll end up with, prices going up on teachers. Teachers will say, we will strike if you don't increase our income. And then eventually, it will take a year or two, the price of the homes will climb up to be back into parity with what it was before when the minimum wage was lower. Anyways, I hope any of that reached some of your ears. I don't know if any of it made sense. Kendall wants to order. Let's do it, man. I'm ready. Money is real. By the way, we're at an hour and 30 minutes. We could just wrap up here if you guys would like. I used to go to sleep, Kendall, come to at night. I used to work drive-through. Stephen Colson says it didn't. Stephen, I really appreciate you coming in here and contributing to the conversation. I just want you to know, no hard feelings if we had some disagreement over some kind of political idea or something like that. Yeah, I actually really, really enjoy conversation about this kind of stuff. And I'm very open-minded to both sides, because I understand there's two sides to the argument, and no side holds an absolute, grasp on truth. But I like to hear the ideas and stuff like that. Because people get attached very emotionally to ideas. For me, I try not to attach myself emotionally to ideas. I want to see balance sheets. You know what I mean? I want to see outcomes. I want to see results. I'm very result driven, and so it's not just about what's best for me necessarily, because you kind of picked up on that. But it's about what do I believe will happen to the country overall over time. So financial collapse would cause the country to become destabilized, and if the country gets destabilized enough, I think that you could just see the United States go away at one point, or just be sold off in a sort of non-discrete kind of way, which is more likely to happen. And the other thing that's more likely to happen is the mass immigration of wealthy people out of the country. So I think you would see that happen rather than a collapse, and life would just be more miserable. I think that's because when all the wealthy people leave, the local economy actually struggles because it can't raise enough taxes to meet all the entitlements. But also, you're not seeing any more local investment. You're not seeing any more local spending, which is why, the worst countries to live in, when you analyze how many millionaires they never have any millionaires. People don't want to live there, so they don't invest anything. So I have a philosophy that the goal is to get all the millionaires into one spot. You want them. You want all the rich people to get into your country so you can tax them. And there's some trick, there's some fine line to walk where you can get them into your country. So come on in, get all the billionaires, get all the millionaires into this one country, and we can tax them. But they have to have a reason to come over here. So that's my perspective on that subject. And so it's not all about me. I just really enjoy games. I enjoy systems. I enjoy puzzles, which is why I went to school for computer science. I enjoy this kind of stuff, like a challenge, right? And so my brain just works on it all the time. It just wonders, what's the optimal way to do this kind of thing? You know what I mean? Let's see. The rich and the not rich. Heck yeah, that's Cap. Maybe Night. Kamala. Okay, I'll pass by to see, hopefully. It's only 8:50. LaFlame. Bernie. Does this kind of talk get anyone else aroused? La Bernie Flame. AI is the optimal way. Yeah, maybe. You know, what's funny is people fear the AI overlords. They might come in and be like, hey, we're going to sort this real fast. Actually, that was kind of the plot or a significant portion of the plot of the Alien Romulus movie I just watched. It talked briefly about how AI has this ability to let 3 people die to save 12 people. And so AI might be making decisions like that for us in the future, and it's kind of creepy and scary. So that's just another story. But that was yesterday. I watched that new movie. It wasn't that bad. Alien Romulus. What we want to do, we want to make the smartest choices in our country all the time. Optimal choices. We want the country to be rich and successful. That's the goal. That's the goal for everybody. AI is already making these decisions. They just don't tell us. No, not really. I'm sure it doesn't. Sacrifice. We want to make the smartest choices as a society. That's all it comes down to. And so when you talk about politics, it doesn't have to be slogans and preaching and anger and hatred toward each other. It should be more philosophical. There should be like a philosophical discussion based on ideas and, strategies and what kind of system is going to work better. And what about human nature? How does that play into this? That's what it really should be about. But, if you turn on like your TV or something, it's usually just people going for like an aha gotcha clip. And I'm super Republican and all the Democrats are evil. And I'm super Democrat and all the Republicans are evil. There's very little middle ground, but it's supposed to be not easy to decide what side of the political spectrum you're on. And each subject should be analyzed properly. And the goal is to land on the most intelligent decision within that subject, right? And that's what politics is supposed to be about. But I think a lot of people participate in politics in the more emotional way rather than in an analytical way or a numbers way. It should be analytical and it should be numbers. All right, we do have an order from Anthony Kalura. Boy, it's looking nice outside, man. I might skedaddle. I should go get a walk-in. Here's Anthony, another box of Avatar. Always appreciate the educated takes on the problems in society. Thank you. All right, let me go grab that box. I'll be right back. All right. There we go. Mr. Avatar. What boxes do you have, as in Pokemon, you can possibly rip open for me? Well, we have a lot of Pokemon. It's all listed in the description, though. The description and the secret menu. All right. There we go. All right, voila. Let's pull a stamp out of here. That's what we're trying to do. We want a stamped card. Let's get this. I promise I'm not AI. Oh my God. Okay. I actually really liked RFK's conversation about health in America, because I think health is actually an area of investment, considering when people are too sick, they're not able to work or think properly even. So I think that his focus on health, even if you don't agree with him on his particular ideas about health, it is fascinating to think that America doesn't really talk too much about health when it comes to politics. We're mostly talking about maybe LGBTQ issues, or right now it's been immigration, it's been tax policy, money printing policy. But yeah, if America was an overall healthier country, you can expect it to be a more fertile country as well as a more productive country. You can't be productive if you're really, really unhealthy. It's difficult anyways. Here we are. We're looking for the full arts. She looked like she's getting real crazy. Holy cow, man. This is chat's face when I rant too long. Mr. loves Biden. Do you support Trump or Biden? Well, I can tell you I don't support Joe Biden. I think he's done an overall bad job. I think that his withdrawal in Afghanistan triggered the war in Ukraine. That's what I think happened. So not only did we lose $80 billion in Afghanistan, but I think that weakness actually triggered the aggression by Putin. Putin said, this is our opportunity to take land in Ukraine. So I think his handling of Afghanistan, because his generals warned him not to withdraw the way he was withdrawing. Remember, they went on trial, the generals did, and they basically said that they warned Joe Biden not to do it that way, and then Joe Biden told him to do it that way anyways. That horrible withdrawal caused so much damage to the American brand that Putin said, perfect, Americans have no stomach for war. This is my chance in my lifetime to make a move, because Joe Biden is such an ineffective war leader. The blunder looks so bad that it signals weakness across the world. All right. So I didn't think he did a very good job there. Otherwise, I don't know. I don't like that he caused gas to go up in price. So I think that was very inflationary to do that, since everything runs on gas. And I don't think it actually lowered the damage to the environment. I think the damage just occurs in another country. So another country damages the environment. And then we just import. Oh, ho, ho, he's got some tea. He's living his best life for a little while. Maybe this moment in the TV show was like what life could be if you were just a pacifist, you know? But you can't truly be a pacifist, can you? I guess Switzerland can. But yes, so I think that his policy on oil was also damaging to Americans and to America. He ironically drained the oil reserves to keep the price of gas further down. So the price of gas actually should have been higher than what it was. But what he did was he tapped into the oil reserves that Donald Trump had just finished filling up in his presidency. Donald Trump tapped into that, and this gave us artificially low gas prices when they were exceptionally high. So again, the high cost of energy really is a ripple across the entire economy. And when you can get your cost of energy to go way down, you can actually cause your economy to be more productive. Now, the cost of that might be environmental damage. That's a difficult one, because I actually agree with the Democrats. We don't want environmental damage. I think it's real, and I think it's a bad thing. But again, I'm not convinced that we're not just shifting the damage, you know, from occurring in America to occurring in like Saudi Arabia when we stop producing. They're just, or like Venezuela. They produce a lot of gas. They probably sell it to some country, right? So the damage just occurs somewhere else in the world and still goes into the shared, you know, atmosphere. All right, we might as well be the ones to produce it ourselves and reduce the amount of shipping it requires to get that gas around. You think the president determines the price of gas? Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, their policy does. There you go. That was the first step. President Biden came in and canceled the Keystone Pipeline. Definitely. And that was when price shot up. Gas started shooting up right away. It was actually before the COVID inflation really set in. You could just see gas was going up really rapidly. I think today's the 3rd anniversary of the Afghanistan thing. Azula in Karen mode is the best. Totally wasn't Russia invading, though. Yeah, I mean, Russia invading was bad as well. I think that Russia probably contributed to it. But, you know, they say that one of the reasons Russia was invading was because the price of gas had already gone up by that point. And Russia is a net exporter of gas, right? So if all of a sudden the value of gas increases and Russia is able to sell it at a higher price, you could argue that Biden actually helped pay for that invasion when he caused the value of gas to go up. So I don't know if you guys remember this, but it was during Trump's administration, they were talking about how Russia was actually struggling. The economy of Russia was struggling like crazy. And this is because one of Russia's biggest exports was gas. And one of Donald Trump's achievements during his presidency was the significant lowering of gas prices while raising our strategic oil reserves. So that was something that he accomplished by pushing for more gas to be produced here. And so when that got reversed because they threw out the Keystone Pipeline and they made it harder to apply for, you have to get like drilling rights and licenses and stuff like that. You have to get permission from the government to drill in certain places. When the price of gas shot up, after Joe Biden reversed those policy decisions, because that's what he did that for everything. The price of gas shoots up. We have this really terrible moment in Afghanistan. And then, so Russia's making a lot more money at the moment. Their economy is recovering because now they're selling gas at a higher price. And they know America has no stomach for war anymore. And they go, this is it. This is it. This is our golden opportunity to invade Ukraine. So again, I don't think that the invasion of Ukraine was good for any aspect of the stock market or the market in general, because you've got this gigantic productive country is no longer able to trade with anyone except for China, which is great for our opponent China, but not good for us because we want Russia trading with everybody. China's a gigantic country that produces stuff, right? I mean, they're part, not only them, but Ukraine too, right? So it's two productive countries that produce oil for, like, Europe, for example. And all of a sudden, they're out of the economy because we have to raise sanctions on them to punish them for the invasion. Well, he might not have invaded if his economy had continued to be very weak and he was actually scared of the leader that was running the United States, which clearly he's not afraid of Biden. All right, so those are some interesting thoughts. Wait, we got another order. We got Jeff Leon for Hidden Trials, UK, and for From Nightmares. All right. Very nice. And for these, haha. All right. Blessed Day Mike, 4-hour daytime stream. How many countries depend on Russia for heating oil? A lot. So not a lot of, America doesn't depend on Russia, but Europe actually depends a little bit on oil from Russia. That was why that Nord Stream pipeline was destroyed. And we think America might have been the country to destroy it. So we might have been the one to blow it up because we didn't want Germany to continue to buy oil from Russia. Either Ukraine did it or America did it. They blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. This was a pipe. So this is what the Keystone Pipeline does as well. The Keystone Pipeline in America is meant to help oil travel around, right? Well, they built the Nord Stream pipeline between Germany and Russia to help Germans buy oil from Russia, right? That was the whole idea of it. And America or Ukraine blew that pipe up to make sure that Russia couldn't easily sell the oil to Germany during the war. So think of all the economic damage that did as well. But it also showed you the nature of the relationship between Russia and Europe was a profitable one for, you could argue, both countries, because Russia's specializing in producing oil, which is cheaper than if Europe had to produce it, and they've got all the regulations or restrictions on oil production. But also maybe labor's cheaper in Russia. I don't know if that's true, but yeah, that relationship was severed because the war began. And before that point, if Russia is selling a bunch of oil to Germany, if the cost of oil goes up, this really helped fund the actual invasion. So you need money for an invasion. And so your economy starts to recover because all of a sudden the demand for international oil to be imported into the United States causes a global shift in the cost of oil. So this was great for Saudi Arabia. It was great for people in the Middle East. It was great for Russia. And I would argue it was great for China as well. It was really just bad for us. And then that invasion began. And yeah, it's an absolute atrocity to the economy and the stock market. So if you could quickly end that war in Ukraine and Russia, you can anticipate regular trading to begin again at some point. Fewer people will die, and maybe oil can change again. Maybe Europe can buy oil from Russia again in some capacity. So the sooner that Ukraine-Russia war ends, the better for everybody. People go back to work. Less people dying. When people die, that's a loss in productivity too. You know that because people produce goods, but if they're dead, they don't. And then maybe Europe can trade with Russia again for oil. I'm not sure. But the war actually has to end for that to begin. So that's good for the economy for that to occur. Jeff Leon, it would be good for the war to end. All right. How many countries depend on Russia? Do you think we should take the oil from Ukraine for protecting them? I would hope that there's some agreement between America and Ukraine to pay for the protection, but I doubt we will actually get something out of it. Or if we do, it's probably going to be like BlackRock or some rich mother effer. They're going to get all the benefits of that war. They already have. So if you were a politician heavily invested in the defense industry, which, again, a lot of it's a conflict of interest, by the way. We should, as a people, vote against this. Our politicians should not be allowed to invest in the defense industry. That should be illegal because it creates a conflict of interest where if there's no war, they can't make money because the defense industry relies on war to make its profit. So, first of all, one of our candidates should make that illegal. It should be considered a conflict of interest. And we should stop the profiteering off of war for our politicians. So the Bush family really profited off of war. The Clinton family really profited off of war, right? They want this stuff. They have a need for us to go to war. Jeff Leon, 10 Eevee Heroes, 2 Shrouded Fable, 1 Paldea Blister. You got it, man. There you go. But yeah, I don't exactly know what the United States will ultimately get out of it, if anything. If we'll get any kind of repayment, probably not. I wouldn't bet on it. Let's see. We got an open box somewhere. Here's an open box. I would not bet on the United States making money off of the Ukraine war. I think it's a net loss. I think we're trying to prove a point that Russia and China and Iran cannot be the new power dealers in the world and allow them to make, land grabs, successful land grabs. We're trying to prove that the West is still in control. That's the balance of world power. We're saying, you try to invade Ukraine, we'll get you overthrown, Putin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. But the real problem is the West doesn't have that much power anymore. The truth is America's brokey. America doesn't have any more money. We are broke. 1 Paldea Blister. The truth is Ukraine should have been responsible for making sure that they had their own military that was sufficient to stop a Russian invasion. They didn't invest their own money into military war. We're doing something called war socialism. War socialism is where you and I go to work to pay for someone else's war. And maybe there's a net good for that, but it's difficult for me to see it from a financial perspective. We're scared to admit that China and Russia and Iran and their allies, North Korea, have more power than they really do. We don't want that. We want to claim to be superior. We're the ones who have all the power. We'll make the world choices. Fear our financial sanctions. Fear our military. But look at us. We have $35 trillion of debt and homelessness all over the place. We have out of control inflation. We have, well, it's not totally out of control, but we have politicians that are saying, hey, man, you can't afford what you can't afford. Let us just give you that stuff for free. We'll print money and tax people somehow for it. But it's like, that's an inflationary policy. So how can you raise inflation when the problem is inflation? You know what I mean? Snape. So our country is broke. It actually can't afford to go into a lot of war without significant damaging problems for our country, which we are seeing play out in the cost of homes and the cost of food, the cost of gas. And we're pretending like we're still the power dealers in the world. And maybe it works. Maybe Kamala Harris wins election, and then maybe she goes up against Putin, and we continue fighting this really long, drawn-out war. Putin dies of a blood clot, or maybe he gets assassinated. Maybe his people revolt. Maybe he gives up. Maybe he's like, you know what? I didn't like that war anyways. So you never know. I mean, it's possible. I just don't know exactly what'll happen, but I feel like when you hear Kamala Harris say we'll have the deadliest military, and so that to me sounds like a continuation of the war, and you hear Donald Trump saying, I'll finish the war on the first day, I like that better. And I thought it used to be the Democrats that were for ending wars. So it used to be the Democrat Party used to be for ending wars and not having endless, infinite wars like the war we hosted in the Middle East that just lasted forever and cost us $13 trillion for nothing. We just gave Afghanistan back. We didn't really get much out of it. But again, there is a profit incentive for the defense industry to keep these wars going. And you know who's invested in it? The politicians. So, to me, it just looks kind of bad. I don't see the upside to keeping the war going. I can understand Ukrainians not wanting to give their country up to the Russians. I get that. But they actually speak a very similar language to each other. They're very similar to each other. I feel that it's Ukraine's fault for not having what it needs to defend itself against Russia. That's their own fault. They have to be responsible for that. So I can only feel sorry for so long, and then I have to say, look, this is the way of the world. You got an opponent. He's right next to you. He's super powerful. You should have joined NATO earlier, maybe, or you should have made an agreement with Russia sooner, or you should have had a better military, but you didn't do one of those three things. And now how is it my responsibility? I live on the other side of the world. Why is it my responsibility to pay for your war when there are things we need over here? Like, it's not free money. There's no free money. There's a financial consequence for exporting $80 billion of US dollars out of the country into their country. We lose people too. We lose people to fentanyl. We lose people to cancer. We lose people to heart disease. We got problems over here we could be paying for, but we're paying for your war. What's the benefit for us even? There's no clear benefit. So this is why a lot of people want to hear the Harris administration talk about how she's going to resolve the problem with Russia in a smart way so that China doesn't then also invade Taiwan. Because that's the next thing, is the invasion of Taiwan. And you could really be talking about triggering World War III at that point, right? Like, is this going to be World War III? We all got nukes. Think about how destructive a nuke is these days. They're way more destructive than back in World War II. We're going to have a nuclear war at some point? Like, what is the end goal here? You know, and so I just don't hear things coming out of Kamala Harris's campaign that sounds smart or sounds like she's got a plan. And that's not really a surprise, because I didn't really hear much come out of the Biden administration either, other than we're going to go for a war that takes a long time and try to wear, Putin out and try to kill off a lot of Russian soldiers and degrade their army. I get that strategy, though. And by the way, I'm not blaming Ukraine for what happened. It really is Putin's fault for invading, and he could end the war by just giving the land back and withdrawing. So he could end the war anytime he wants. But I'm also a realist. I know he's not going to do that. He's playing chess, Ukraine's playing chess, and we're all playing chess, and we just have to make the next best move. But I'm not 100% sure what the best move is, but I'm not hearing anything come out of Kamala that sounds like she knows what the next best move is. She sounds like somebody who... She always sounded just kind of weird is all. She just had like a weird laugh, and she didn't really do much is what I remember. Here we are. All right. They gave up their nukes for security assurances. Oh, yeah. I mean, this is going to reshape the world, this one war. Because next time America comes in and says you should give your nukes up, they're going to say, F no, dude. F no. Why? So we could get messed around with by China, Russia, Iran, North Korea. So it's going to be nuclear proliferation, which is a bad thing for humanity, because all it takes is one crazy leader or one terrorist or one, stupid person to take some smaller country's nuclear bomb and misuse it to cause the destruction of maybe millions of people. Like, imagine a bomb got dropped off in Moscow. One nuclear bomb in Moscow. Think of all the people who would die. Innocent people, by the way, because they don't all support war. So this is why nuclear proliferation is a big deal. But Russia's kind of breaking the rules. They're saying, okay, now you've de-armed Ukraine, and we still got our nukes. We're going in. So it shows you the complexity of the problem. It's not so simple. You can't just de-arm people. What I'm trying to say is maybe Ukraine should have held on to their Second Amendment rights and kept their nuclear bombs. That's a joke, right? That's a satire, but it shows you how de-arming, although it appears to provide peace, it can do the opposite. It can actually cause aggression from your opponent. So yes, if they had kept their nuclear bombs like they had originally, and some people don't know that Ukraine agreed to remove their nuclear bombs. Did you guys know that? That was in the past. Ukraine agreed to remove their nuclear bombs in the past. So some people don't realize de-arming actually invites aggression. Bust the homeless to Ukraine. All I saw was Meg the Stallion twerking on stage. Kamala sounds like she's going to make me more poor. She definitely was a failure at vice president. Now she might receive a promotion. Sounds about right. Here's Fencer. Here's Titus. All right, there we go. But so, if we're looking at the situation, I want to hear how she wants to bring the war to the end. But I have not heard that. And I'm always listening because I really am interested in these kinds of things. And, I've got this overall pattern of behavior where I don't think they're going to end it. And that was RFK's complaint as well. RFK Jr., when he gave his speech about the Democrats, when he supported the Republicans rather than the Democrats, he went up there and he said, the Democrat Party is not the party it used to be. It's now the neocon party. It's the party of war, endless wars, with endless money being pumped into the war. So it's another government system that says, hey, we have to have government money here. Oh, but also, good thing you invested in this system, because this is the system that's making all the money. Ooh, woof. There you go. All right. Konnichiwa. Who is this girl? Oh, my God, bro. Jeff Leon. Yeah, the Democrats used to be like the hippie party that was all like, hey, yeah, we're against the war. End the wars. All right. So, Mr. Jeff, you've been keeping us busy all day. I really appreciate that, man. Really appreciate that. I wish we could pull that goddamn God Pack. But we have not seen it. We've not seen the signature coming out of Final Fantasy either. Really tough to pull those things, I guess. And where has Joe gone? Yeah, I mean, he's no longer in the limelight, so he's probably tucked away a little bit, but no doubt that his mental acuity, the state of his mental prowess, as degraded as it is probably not improved. It's probably gotten worse over the last month or two since that debate. I think it's been 1 month, right? So who knows who's actually running the country? Probably a group of Democrats is running the country, probably a group of strategists. And Trump's just sort of like the advertisement. So I'm sure they'll continue to run it in a similar fashion to how it's been run. I don't think much will change. But everything's going to be up to the elections. There will be big change after the elections. Whether Trump wins or Kamala wins, there'll be big changes at that point. And it's really fascinating to watch. Dylan James to Fantasia Bunko. Honestly, I don't feel like much is going to change for me. If Kamala Harris wins, my life's not going to change too much. If Donald Trump wins, my life's not going to change too much. I actually don't think life will change all that much. But what will change is the status of our country. I think our country will either go up in succeeding or down in succeeding. And right now, I do not feel like Kamala Harris will provide further success. She's not giving off that vibe. She's giving off a different vibe. She's giving off a vibe like... man, it's sort of like a very social politics kind of vibe. So it's very social politics. But success, no, I don't feel that. Oh, man, look at these ladies. So many ladies in this set. All right, so this is a sexy lady set. Fantasia Bunko has some extremely lewd full arts if you're lucky enough to pull them, but they're hard to pull. This time, Mr. Dillon, is going to be 2 cold packs. With Harris, it will change more woke in every sector. Yeah, there's a lot of people who do not like liberal social policies. So that would mostly be LGBTQ, abortion, and feminism. Those are the big ones, I think. I guess you could boil it down to LGBTQ, feminism, maybe globalism, socialism. So there's a lot of people who are not huge fans of that. But it's like, set that all aside. Let's just talk about problems like the economy and foreign war. And I feel like those are the bigger, who cares what happens socially in the country? I don't feel like there's that much going on. But those other subjects are big deals. And I'm not getting a signal that the Democrats are going to end that war. I almost feel like they're letting us know they're going to extend it. Here you are, Dylan. Ho-ho. And I want to hear Democrats talk about what they truly want in their hearts. Do they want the war to go on? Not in your propagandized brain. Not in the mind of the things that have been discussed, but like in your heart. Like, what do you truly want? You want the war to go on? And I feel like they don't. And I feel like it's probably difficult for them to have to, deal with wanting to support maybe a candidate whose nearly religious beliefs are closer to their own religious beliefs. But then they come around and it's like clear that we're just going to continue this sort of war machine. That has to be a real struggle, I think. And, Donald Trump, I think, is pretty gross sometimes, too. Yeah. I don't know. He sounded real old, too, by the way. Here's Jeff Leon, 2, Shrouded Fable. He is definitely not the ideal conservative. It hasn't been ideal in the conservative party in a long time. It's the Trump party for now. 20 Eevee Heroes, 1 Paldea Blister. Conservative politics used to sound more like Marco Rubio. It used to sound more like the head of Congress, whatever his name is. It used to sound more like, I don't know, pick some lame Republican like Mitt Romney or something like that. It used to sound more like that. And Donald Trump has changed all that. Now it's more facetious. It's more attacking your opponent, calling them schoolyard names, bullying, bragging. So he's changed the Republican Party to be the Donald Trump Party. And at times it just sounds almost crazy. But it's crazy on the other side, too. Like, it's not... I'm going to the other party, and I'm just seeing, like, okay, you guys are crazy, too. I'm not seeing, like, a ton of great things over there either. I'm not going over there and saying, oh yeah, this is where the intelligentsia are. You know what I mean? Like, this is where the real debates are having. No, but you go over to the Democrat side, it feels like the party of silencing your ideas, political correctness. Don't speak the truth because it'll offend somebody. That's how it feels on the other side. So it's like, oh, Jesus, dude. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. 19? We don't got one more? Let's go looking for it. Makes me sad waving some other random flag in America is more accepted than flying our country's flag. Why? And that has to be somewhat insulting to people who have really been injured fighting for our country. But, you know, there's the whole flag debate. Flags is like a whole different subject. But yeah, I agree. You know, I like it when the government building flies our flag. Shouldn't we be proud of our home? But no, in America, the zeitgeist, the feeling of our time is to feel guilty of our home and to hate our home and to hate our past and to hate who we are and to wish that we were somebody else. And, hey, if we can just turn into a different country, then everything will be good. There's a lot of that going on, and that's part of what causes great cultural change, like when China became communist, because you have to remember China wasn't always communist. But that's part of the heading toward communism. You have to hate who you are first. You have to hate your history first. You have to burn the history of your country down and say, we were evil and wrong, but we're going to be a paradise. We're going to be morally correct now, and we're going to do that by handing a lot of power to a small group of people who will then redistribute money. So that's how communism essentially works, and it's basically just a more extreme version of socialism, but socialism is a very similar idea. It's actually not that different. That's what Europe's doing right now. It makes me sad. Go. All right. Very nice. Jeff Leon. Burn the past down, and then we'll have a brilliant and intelligent and wonderful and equal future, and everyone will be equal to each other finally. That's a real obsession with equality. People love equality. Unfortunately, it's also a fantasy because everyone is born unequal to each other, and there's no way to fix that. Here we are. All right. Reminds me of South Park, douche and turd sandwich. Yeah, a little bit of that. A little bit of the douche and turd sandwich. No doubt. Here's Duskull. And that might have a little bit to do with the fact that during a political cycle, the people who want power the most are typically not the best people. You know what I mean? These are people who might be extreme narcissists, or they might be extremely money-driven, or they might be extremely ideological, or like religious leader types. Whatever the case is, they're typically not normal people. And they make it to the top of the game because they're so extreme in their personalities. Here we are. So yeah, you end up with a douche, giant douche and turd sandwich, because those are the people who make it all the way to the top, the most extreme type of people. Think of like a speedrunner in a video game. When you finally get to see the speedrunner, they always look like there's some kind of, you know, underground goblin who's just spent the rest of their life hiding out in mom's basement playing this game 24 hours a day. And you're like, oh, you're kind of a not healthy human. But that's what took them to the top, was their extremeness, their extreme dedication to this one thing. Was the same in politics. The winner is the most extreme player. Think of them like the most extreme video gamer, but in their category. And so they emerge, and you kind of realize, man, these guys are freaks. The politicians are strange people. But yeah, so they're really obsessed with power. They're really obsessed with attention and approval. They're really obsessed with, getting charisma, getting along with everyone. And they're usually those kinds of people. There you go. And they try so hard to be relatable, don't they? They're like, look at me. I'm going to KFC and eating fried chicken like you. Finger licking good. So good. They do that all the time. It's so cringe. I was like, we know you're eating lobster. We know you have a private chef. You son of a bleep blop. We know it's a lie. You are not eating KFC every day. Actually, Donald Trump has the build of somebody who might be eating KFC. But all the other ones, probably not. No freaking way. They're eating children. There we go. They're having pizza parties. There is no way they eat like normal people, but they try so hard. They get the media ready. They get a bunch of cameras ready. How cringe is that? And then we watch and we go, oh, wow, they're going to Denny's. They're just like me. Oh, my God, dude. It's like they're staging the moon landing or something and going, see? All right, what we got? Some Holos. Oh, I see the hit back there. Holo. I'm just like you. I go to Denny's and eat an ice cream. Oh, my dear God, dude. Oh, I think it's an alt. What do we got? Oh, we got Jolteon is so good. All right, very good. Nice box. Okay. And get off of this stream and tell Kara she's got a nice box. All right, awesome. I like Trump. He doesn't want money. He didn't want to be a politician. I think he did want to be a politician. I think you'd have to disagree with that because if he didn't want to be a politician, he wouldn't be running. But you are right that he has a lot of money. And so one of the compelling concepts about him, and maybe one of the reasons he became so popular on the Republican side, people knew he was not beholden to any of the big money donors because he is big money. He's already a billionaire. He already has all this money. He doesn't need anyone else's money. So he's this guy. He's 80 years old almost. He probably is just doing what he believes should be done, and he's not being paid to do it. Nobody can pay him to do what he thinks should be done. So, and this is very compelling for people. They go, oh, man, that's what I want. I want this sort of sincerity. By the way, that was also why Bernie Sanders was so popular, because he also came off as very sincere. As it turns out, Americans really want sincerity. And maybe this is why Kamala Harris has been a little off-putting for some, because they look at her and they go, what does she actually believe in? You know, what does she actually believe in? Is she just another, she's just another puppet for the DNC, for the neocons, for the war machine, for the corporations, for whoever the biggest bidder is, for the quiet, group of people who are making the real decisions? Who is she actually? And it's hard to say because she doesn't talk that much. She doesn't talk that much, and that's, I think, a downside. If she spoke more and she sounded more convicted and I knew what she wanted, I would be like, all right, I get who she is now. But she just doesn't actually talk. Now, I have a theory why she doesn't talk is because she talks so poorly. Because there's so many clips of her talking like a crazy person that I don't think she's actually very good at one of the most important skills as a politician, which is speech. You're supposed to be good at speech. That's the one job of a politician, is speech. Here we are. But instead we get like famous clips like the coconut tree clip. All right, rage, quit, bit, sneep. So this is why I think you don't hear much from her. I think it's a strategy by her party to say, you're going to shut up. Because if you open your mouth and say one stupid thing, it's over for us. Here's Golem and Witch of the Fens. I also think that's why it's going to be so important whenever that debate happens. She's going to have to, if she can play that debate really well, and just sound smart for one debate against Donald Trump, like score, few punches, few jabs, I think it's over for Donald Trump at that point. If it goes the other way, if he gets a few jabs at her, it's over for her. So I think the debate is going to be super consequential, and I can't wait to watch it. Here's a rage quit. I Mitt Romney type would be nice right about now. Yeah, well, he's certainly very well-spoken, but, as well-spoken as he is, I think just like any politician, that's all part of the game. Politicians are essentially expert advertisers. So he advertises himself in a certain way. That doesn't necessarily mean he's not like, snorting blow off of a hooker's ass behind the scenes. We don't know exactly who he is. These are guys who are so wealthy and behind the scenes, you truly don't know who they are. But I don't want to sully the waters by claiming he definitely does those things. I just think that the number one thing a politician is, the business they're in, is basically advertising. They're advertisements. And so the better you can spin an image of yourself, a brand of yourself, the better you succeed. And ultimately what that means is everything you're looking at is fake. Everything you're looking at is constructed for you to look at. The way Joe Biden is constructed for you. The way Kamala Harris is constructed. The way Donald Trump is constructed for you. It's all thought out and planned very carefully. Although maybe Trump was less planned. I think that's what really appealed to voters is when he came out. He seems so crazy that you're like, well, this guy can't be a politician. Politicians wouldn't be so stupid to say this stuff. You know what I mean? He's Mormon, so I doubt it, but you never know. Oh, that doesn't mean anything, man. What about those Catholic priests and the little boys? That doesn't mean anything. Yeah, religious people, they can get freaky. Yeah, for sure, man. Man, they got that discipline, right? Hey, spank me, mama. All right, I'm hopping off, guys. Great chat. 2 hours long today. I'll be on for the late night stream. I'll see you guys there. It is Monday. Let's give away a spot in here real fast. I think I forgot to roll this. So we got Fernando going in. Religion might actually increase the odds that they're freaky. But you never know. Yeah, plenty of religious people. Aovic. Teachers getting all, you know what I'm saying? What's up with these lady teachers and having sex with underage boys? You're supposed to think of teachers as like these good people. And then you find out that they're like super freaks or something. You know, it's kind of off-putting. It's like, holy Jesus Christ, dude. James Alanya. All right, thanks for bearing through. Today was definitely a political day. Lots of politics. Again, everyone here is welcome. It's a presidential nomination year. A lot of conversation going on about what's happening. When we talk politics, I don't agree with people being mean to each other. I really like civil conversation, philosophical conversation. A lot of the times, people need to understand where you came from. How did you arrive at your decisions? And you really should treat the ideas like something to really think about and try to convince each other of either way, you know. But people get way too angry. It's because it's very frustrating, right? But don't let the frustration win. Just have a nice conversation about it. And it's a good thing to actually, if you can manage to have a respectful conversation about it, it's a big win, because that's what everyone needs to be able to do to function as a civilized society. You have to be able to have that conversation, because if you can only fight, then you don't actually have a civilized society. What you have is a society on the brink of political terrorism and war. All right, I'm hopping off, guys. See you later. Have a nice day. I'll see you tonight.